Imagine conquering an entire empire in just over a decade, a feat that took others centuries to achieve. In this video, we dive into the story of Alexander the Great, exploring how a small, underestimated kingdom toppled the era's greatest superpower. Witness epic battles, brilliant strategies, political intrigue, and the lasting impact that reshaped 3 continents. Get ready to see not just the man, but the transformation he unleashed across the ancient world. He conquered more territory in just over a decade than many empires took centuries to build. But the real question is not how much land Alexander seized. It is how a kingdom once dismissed as peripheral managed to dismantle the greatest superpower of its time and permanently shift the balance of the ancient world. When Alexander the Great took the throne of Macedon in 336 BCE, the global order seemed firmly established. The Achaemenid Empire stretched from Anatolia to the Indus Valley. It controlled vital trade routes, administered vast territories through a sophisticated satrapal system, and projected power through monumental capitals like Persepolis, where towering columns and carved reliefs celebrated the authority of the great king. Macedon, by contrast, had long been regarded by southern Greeks as rough and semi-barbaric. Its terrain was mountainous, its winters harsh, its political structure rooted in personal loyalty between king and aristocratic warriors. Yet under Philip II of Macedon, a quiet revolution had taken place. Philip professionalized the army. He refined the phalanx, equipping infantry with the sarissa, a pike that could reach 6 meters in length. In tight formation, these soldiers formed a moving wall of spear points. He developed an elite shock cavalry, the companions, trained to strike precisely where enemy lines faltered. By the time of his assassination, Philip had forged a military machine designed for expansion. When Philip was murdered in 336 BCE, the invasion of Persia was not a dream. It was a prepared operation waiting for execution. Alexander inherited the structure. He also inherited instability. Greek cities such as Thebes questioned his authority. Tribes to the north tested Macedonian borders. Before crossing any sea, he had to secure his throne. His response was swift and calculated. He marched north to suppress uprisings in Thrace and Illyria. Then he turned south. The destruction of Thebes was decisive. The city was razed, thousands were killed or enslaved, and its territory redistributed. The message reverberated across Greece. Macedonian dominance remained intact. Only then did the Asian campaign begin. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont with roughly 40,000 troops. The act carried symbolic weight. He presented the invasion as retribution for the Persian wars of the previous century. At the same time, it was a strategic gamble against a far larger empire. The first significant clash occurred at the Granicus River. Persian cavalry positioned themselves along steep banks, expecting the Macedonians to lose cohesion during the crossing. Alexander attacked immediately. The engagement was chaotic and nearly fatal for him personally, yet the Macedonian formation held. The victory opened the gateway to Asia Minor. From that point forward, the campaign followed a deliberate pattern: secure coastal cities, neutralize Persian naval capacity, ensure supply lines, and move gradually inland. Sardis surrendered, Miletus resisted, Halicarnassus required sustained siege operations. Each success amplified the perception that Persian authority was vulnerable. King Darius III eventually moved to confront the invader directly. The encounter took place at Issus in 333 BCE. The narrow terrain restricted Persian numerical superiority. Macedonian discipline prevailed. Alexander drove toward the Persian center, targeting Darius himself. When the king fled, The psychological impact was profound. The capture of the Persian royal family provided leverage. Alexander began presenting himself not merely as conqueror, but as legitimate successor to Persian authority. Rather than push immediately into the imperial heartland, he moved south along the Levantine coast. The decision was strategic. The island city of Tyre refused surrender. The siege lasted months. Engineers constructed a massive causeway to reach the fortified island. The eventual fall of Tyre eliminated a critical naval base. Egypt, in contrast, was incorporated with minimal resistance. In Memphis, Alexander was crowned pharaoh. He founded the city of Alexandria, positioned to become a major Mediterranean hub of trade and administration. The decisive confrontation came in 331 BCE at Gaugamela. Darius assembled a large and diverse force. The battlefield was prepared to favor Persian mobility and scythed chariots. Alexander adapted his formation with flexibility, creating controlled gaps and maintaining reserve units. When he identified a weakness, he launched a direct assault toward the Persian center. Once again, Darius fled. Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis fell into Macedonian hands. The Persian treasury became Alexander's resource. At this stage, he ceased to be merely an invading general. He became ruler of a multicultural empire. He retained many local administrators. He incorporated Persian soldiers into his forces. He adopted elements of Persian court ceremony, including dress and ritual. These policies aimed at integration, but they also generated tension among Macedonian officers who viewed such practices as abandonment of tradition. Internal strain became visible. Alleged conspiracies were punished severely. In a heated banquet dispute, Alexander killed Cletus, a longtime companion who had once saved his life. The incident reflected mounting pressure and the complexity of ruling a rapidly expanding empire. The campaign did not end in Mesopotamia. Alexander advanced into Central Asia, encountering fragmented resistance and guerrilla tactics rather than large-scale pitched battles. Fortified strongholds in mountainous terrain required prolonged operations. Conquest shifted from dramatic engagement to gradual consolidation. His marriage to Roxana, daughter of a local noble, formed part of a broader integration strategy. In 326 BCE, the army reached the Indus Valley. At the Battle of the Hydaspes, Alexander confronted King Porus and war elephants. The unfamiliar battlefield conditions demanded tactical adaptation. The Macedonians ultimately prevailed, but the engagement demonstrated the limits of expansion under increasingly difficult circumstances. When the army arrived at the Hydaspes River, the soldiers refused to march further. They had campaigned for nearly a decade and were thousands of miles from home. The empire was vast, but human endurance had reached its threshold. Alexander agreed to turn back. The return march through the Gedrosian desert exposed logistical vulnerabilities. Extreme heat, scarcity of water, and supply failures caused heavy losses. Territorial expansion had exceeded sustainable limits. In 323 BCE, back in Babylon, Alexander began planning administrative reforms and possible future campaigns. The city had become a crossroads of cultures, languages, and commerce, serving as the political center of a transcontinental realm. Then illness struck. After days of fever, Alexander died at the age of 32. He left no clearly established adult successor. The immediate consequences were his generals divided the territory among themselves. The wars of the Diadochi shattered imperial unity. Yet political fragmentation did not erase structural transformation. The Hellenistic period that followed spread Greek language, urban models, scientific exchange, and commercial integration across the Eastern Mediterranean and Near East. Cities founded by Alexander became enduring administrative and cultural centers. From a systemic perspective, Alexander's conquest combined three critical factors: tactical superiority in early engagements, administrative pragmatism in governance, and exploitation of internal Persian weaknesses. The Persian Empire relied on regional satrap loyalty across immense distances. Macedonian forces, though smaller, were cohesive and tightly commanded. Alexander's early death prevented long-term institutional stabilization. Nevertheless, the geopolitical realignment triggered by his campaign reshaped trade networks, political boundaries, and cultural identities on a continental scale. The central question remains: was Alexander a singular military genius who capitalized on favorable conditions, or was he the catalyst that accelerated transformations already underway in the ancient world? Either way, his conquest was more than a sequence of battles. It was a structural turning point that redefined power across three continents. And that is why more than 2,000 years later, the scale and consequences of his campaign continue to be examined as one of the decisive episodes in ancient history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rise, ambition, and ultimate fate of Alexander's conquest, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next full-scale historical documentary.